bringing into point another purpose in the materials of lacing. Lacing brings you strength. It's the hide, and when you cut the hide, you're not cutting on lines like this. Yeah, that looks like a line. But what they do is they run a little tool. I think I might have used to had a lace cutter on my leather working tools. I let go of those years ago. But when you cut lacing, you hold this tool that's got kind of like a rake in it, and you turn the hide. And so you're not on the perpendicular. You're going around the fiber, which creates strength in the lacing. One of the things that you will wind up finding on the market that is cheap is some lacing from China. They don't cut it right. And it's cut like on that, right? It's cut like this. And so it will break at that junction, right? At that junction, wherever it's moving on the hide, that's a break point. So one of the better ones is, it says on here they're called real leather. This is out of Indiana. I am an American citizen, and I want to say that my country needs employment, and I want to represent my country as a fellow citizen, and so I try to buy American. This is out of Jeffersonville, Indiana. This lacing, for example, I bought this online. It was either China or India. Let me see, I can't remember. I was not as happy with this, but it's got a different purpose, and here's why. Let me hold up a suede one at the same time. Okay, so you know what suede looks like, right? It's got that tooth. All right, this has a satin finish. On one side, do you see how it's shiny? And then on the other side, it's like a suede. This is not as strong. This has a different purpose. This is almost more decorative. This is something that you would use for woven leather because it's flat on the back. Look at do you see how much thinner it is than the green stuff? This is used more for, say if you had, oh, I saw it, just a second. Say if, try to do this one-handed. Say if my hand was a piece of leather. It kind of is, but you know what I mean. Okay, not yet. Give me another 50 years and it'll be more leathery. See this right here where it's standing up? Pretend this is leather and you poked a hole here, here, and here. And you wanted to interweave through the leather, but you wanted to put a bead on, right? So you would cut your holes in your leather, right? And you would take this and you would lace, hence the word lace. You would lace and you'd put a bead on there, and then you'd go in and out of the leather. It's not made for strength as far as a seam, where you have to hold two things together. It's more decorative. And lacing comes in all different sizes. This is, I don't think the color will come up for you guys. It's the most beautiful avocado green. Now for this, I'm just gonna have to grab whatever size I grab. I know it's not the right size, but I'm trying to balance everything. This is the kind of thing you would have larger leather. I know, I grabbed one. Okay, so this is an end finding. That's like, say if I wanted to make a choker, of course I'd get the one that's the right length. Or if I don't have any of the same size, I could always put another piece of lacing right here and do 2 strands. Those are called ribbon crimps. Like I say, you get into some of these other lacing and stringing materials, you have to have other kinds of finishing components. These here, these chains right there, we haven't talked about cable very much. I'll go over it lightly in a moment. But when you're making cable pieces, these are extenders that you add to the end of a piece of cable. They have a finish drop. And what they do is the wire guard, this sits on top of the wire guard, kind of how it's sitting here. And it adds 3 inches to your necklace. They're really a wonderful component. I try to put those on almost all of my pieces I sell because, you know, people want different sizes. The other side of stringing is leaning into wire or metal compounds for stringing. There's various kinds of wire, but I want to introduce you, if you haven't met it yet, to cable. Cable comes in all different colors and 3 main different sizes. Cable is made up of fibers. If you could see right here, this little circle, and the cable itself is a woven membrane. Mine is of 49 different strands. And what all those micro strands do is they make this cable supple. The higher the number, 49 is my preferred. But it comes in everything from 7 strand to it would be increments of pi, the way they're measured, and I don't remember, but 49 is my favorite. However, a 7-strand cable would be good for a wind chime, where you don't need it to be supple, right? You just need it to be strong. So there's all different kinds of cables. I'm going to introduce you to my preferred range of materials that are like the other materials, right, that I use. So what I use cable on is I have a lot of Venetian, a lot of East India glass. I have a lot of check beads. I was a gleaner for 40 years, and all the spill lots, anytime I ever saw anything, I would pay $50 for 100 pounds of beads, or $20 or $10 here or there, whatever I had in the grocery. That's what I did, was I sort. And I've created a life and a studio out of it. And it was what I did for my own sanity when I was raising my 2 amazing special needs kids. My husband and I adopted 2 children later in life, and they were special needs. And I sorted in the evening because that's where I found peace. And having a sorted collection of beads, I may be leaning now into those of you who may go beyond or in a different direction than the seed beading, doing, strand work, different kinds of costume jewelry, that kind of stuff, okay? That's a bit of my wheelhouse. That's what I do. Actually, what I do is I use the materials that I've gleaned over the years, and I learn how to use them. And so I like Acuflex. Acuflex is a brand, but there's different brands. But what you're looking for, folks, you're looking for 49 strand if you're using any supple type applications, a bracelet, a necklace, and such, Now, the next thing you look for is you look for the diameter of it. And this is the larger one I use, and that's 24. That is for the heavier bead. This comes in 19, 14. 14 would be for perhaps you didn't want to put your acrylic bead onto an elastic, so you're going to use the very finest, lightest weight, most supple you have, because those beads are the very, very lightest beads. And if you don't use something really delicate, they're not going to drape. That's what you use 014 for. So the lighter weight bead, the lower number on the drape. The next thing you look for is you look for footage of the spool, and you divide the length of the spool by the amount they're charging for it. That's how you see whether you're getting a good deal if you'd like to comparison shop. Me, I hit clearance sales. I've hit clearance sales for 40 years. When I purchased this, I think I purchased it at a quarter of the price. So when you look around and you think, oh, I could never have that, because no, honey, I home cooked all my meals and I grew my own garden for a season, and I worked really hard, and I found these things on clearance racks, or I search clearance in, there's one particular company I kind of like. So anyway, these are the colors that I wound up with. These were all on clearance. Now you see the spools that are really a lot left. They look like there's a whole lot more than the other, but they're heavier. That's the difference in how they look. I'll see if I can bring that up for you and give you a better shot of that. Okay, so this is, oh yeah, my rack fell apart the other day and things got mixed up, but this is 14, this is 19, this is 19, 19, this is 24 right here. You see the difference? See how thick that blue is compared to these color, this one and this one? I love using the colors with the glass beads that I do. I'm almost out. I've only got the 24 and the gold, and so that kind of makes it a little hard for me. But that's a cable, folks. When you use cable, you have to use crimp beads. You need to use a crimp plier. Next, you'd put 3 crimp beads on. Next, you would use something called a wire protector. A wire protector, some of you girls been using these with thread. May I warn you that they're not created for thread, and you need to be careful with thread, because over time, wear can make it break your thread. Just a heads up. I know you got some of them on the earrings and that, girls. Make sure they're not sitting at any kind of a press point, else the earring could break. You know, when the earring wiggles back and forth. Okay, so you've got thread going through this piece of metal, right? So this is a wire guard. And if you put thread through that and the earring is dangling down here, that's fine. Just make sure there's no wear point right there in your design, else it can cut your thread. These are wire guards. It's got a little hole, and you go up one hole around that end and bring the wire down. These are for 14s. These are real tiny. You put a wire guard on, and then you would put your clasp on, and then you would take the thread back down through the crimp bead, and on top of the crimp bead you have to put a crimp cover. So that's wire. And then the last, probably not the only, but one of the last ones I can discuss is elastic. So elastic comes on spools. It comes in varying widths, thicknesses. And elastic is often used for bracelets. A lot of times you can use it with acrylics, because acrylics are so lightweight that the elastic can bear the weight, and so it can last for several years. Now, if you use heavier or glass beads on elastics, fair warning, you need to use rivet or eye hole rivets in your glass. You've got to epoxy that onto your glass holes, or that abrasive glass is going to cut right through your elastic. Using glass for a bracelet, you really do need to use cable. It's the better bet. Pardon me. Hi. The wrong way. And here I am. Using the right material with your beadwork will cause your beadwork to last. Your art has meaning. What you're creating is not just for today. Create something that is a legacy, that can touch lives for a long, 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 long time. Don't be heartbroken using the wrong materials and creating a wonderful masterpiece only for it to disintegrate because you haven't used like with like. Remember, likes like materials. Y'all have a good day. I'll be back with another topic. And if you have any particular topics that you'd like to discuss, please keep the conversation going. I'm not the only one who has knowledge to share. Thank you. God bless. Have a good day.